All right, y'all. What's going on? Welcome to the Monday night live stream. Hold on. Darren's right here. All right. How's everybody doing? Can everybody hear me clearly? Put a one in the chat if you can hear me clearly. We got some folks coming on in. Definitely tune in into the chat. You know what I'm saying? Let me know where you're tuning in from. City, state, country, and all of that. Tonight we got to talk about some things. We got to talk about we got to talk about training. We got to talk about mindset. We got to talk about um, necessary but not sufficient, right? So, eating well is necessary but not enough. It's not sufficient, right? This is very important too because um, I focus a lot on nutrition, but that's to get your foot in the door, right? Because nutrition, that's the ground level of where you get into wellness, and then everything gets stacked on top of that, right? If you don't stack anything on top of it and you just rely solely on good nutrition, you're going to be undermining all of your potential results that you can get, right? So we got to really address that mindset and just uh, correcting the framing, so to speak, and what I mean about that. So I see some ones in the chat here. Y'all hear me clearly? Cali girl, what's going on? Big shout out to you over there in Houston. Nene, what's going on? Big shout out to you from Delaware. D, big shout out to you from Raleigh. There we go. Got my folks tuning in here. So this is going to be an important conversation, right? Because we're going to touch on mindset and talk about some of the things that we tend to miss, right? I'm not going to hold y'all too long, okay? But I will be taking some questions and going back and forth with y'all. But where I want to start is this. Nutrition, optimal nutrition is necessary but not sufficient. It is not the only thing that you need to improve. It's not the only thing you need to work on. It is the thing that allows you to work on everything else. Right? If you're trying to improve your blood pressure, you can improve it, but how do you get your blood pressure to stay at a healthy level? You may be wanting to work on insulin resistance, reversing type 2 diabetes. When you reverse your type 2 diabetes and you improve your insulin sensitivity, how do you keep it that way? Right? You're going to fix your thyroid. You want to improve your thyroid function. Once you get it that way, how do you keep it that way? If you lose weight, you drop 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 pounds. Once you've lost the weight, 50, 100 pounds, once you've lost the weight, how do you keep it off? Creating a body transformation is very rare, and it should not be as rare as it is. Losing the weight shouldn't be as hard as it is. But in particular, the reason why it's the way that it is, the reason why it's so difficult. Yes, we have to fix our diet. You can fix your diet, but it doesn't work in a vacuum on its own. Right? If you're just trying to solely rely on dietary changes, you're going to be making your life a lot more difficult than it needs to be. There's a lot of other things that we can deploy as leverage. The primary thing that we got to really stack on top of our nutrition is lifestyle habits, in particular, like living a more human lifestyle, building more strength, building more muscle, improving the infrastructure of your body, right? Human beings are designed to be incredibly strong, to build, pushing and pulling and climbing and lifting, carrying, building structures, all this kind of stuff, gardening, right? Cultivating the land, this kind of thing. Now, the interesting thing is building muscle it's not just a thing to just change your outward appearance. It goes deeper than just, having a certain athletic physique. It's much deeper than that. Training, and as you gain strength, as you gain muscle mass, it improves your brain chemistry. It increases your capacity to learn and retain the information that you learn. It improves your mood, makes you more durable as a person. So when we talk about things like depression and anxiety, one of the key components to being able to fix that issue is actual strength training, muscle building. It's a form of therapy. All of the healthiest elderly people I know, they all have one thing in common. They were very active and they had very physical lives, whether they be farmers, athletes, whatever the case is. They were construction workers, whatever the case may be, martial artists. But they had a lifestyle, or have a lifestyle, where demanding physical labor was a normal thing. I'm not talking about necessarily back-breaking, abusive labor, right? I mean, living a lifestyle where you don't perform any more labor than you need to. And in our society right now, we have a very precarious relationship with labor. We have a weird relationship with labor. When it comes to building strength and muscle, you have two sets of people, generally speaking. You have people who they feel as though they're small and skinny and weak and they want to get big and strong because there's some kind of insecurity about their body, right? And then on the flip side of that, you have people who are obese and weak and they want to gain muscle and sculpt their body and create a body transformation. So they engage in resistance training, weight training, they go to the gym, that kind of thing. Both of these groups on opposite ends of the spectrum, they manufacture labor called exercise, often doing this in an institution like a gym. Now, because there's a lot of pressure on us in our media, right? We got this six-pack abs, we got people getting body surgeries, they're getting lipo, they're getting abdominoplasty, right? People getting butt implants and butt shots and all of this. You got people taking steroids and all types of hormones to develop a certain physique. And they take all kind of pictures and photo shoots and they put it all over social media. And they have all of these people wanting to look like them. There's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of social pressure to look a particular way, right? And people will go into the gym or work out and kill themselves, manufacturing labor. One very important thing to understand about labor is any labor that you do should be for a very specific purpose, and you should never do more labor than you have to. Right? This is a very important thing to understand because when it comes to muscle building effectively, more is not always better. More labor does not yield more results. In fact, a lot of the times, more labor equals less results. If you are skinny, you don't really have much muscle mass to you. If you go into the gym and you train for an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 30 minutes, and you're trying to work as hard as possible for as long as possible, and you're trying to do more and more and more and more, this can actually stunt your growth or prevent you from seeing any real progress at all. You may achieve some progress doing this, but it's going to be a lot less than it could have been, right? If you're overweight and you need to lose a lot of weight, this could be even worse because then you're doing all the resistance training and then you're stacking all of this cardio on top of that. You're running, you're bike riding, and you're getting on the elliptical, then the row machine. You're doing all these different cardio machines. You're doing an hour of cardio. Some people do an hour and 2 hours of cardio. You're doing resistance training for a full hour and then doing cardio for a full hour and a half or so, right? Doing all of this work because, hey, more sets and reps and more weight lifted and running and walking longer distances and doing more cardio equals more caloric burn, right? So that's what I got to do to lose the weight. But it doesn't really quite work out this way. If it did, people wouldn't really need like personal trainers or fitness coaches or diet plans. If it was really just about maximizing caloric burn by just doing more labor, well, then you could just eat whatever and just focus on just maximizing burning as many calories as you can. And people often try to do this and they run themselves into the ground doing this, right? Then you have people who they don't have the time. You work long hours, you have kids, you have a family, you have a lot of responsibility. So you skip the gym sometimes, or it's hard to even get into a gym. You don't even join a gym because, it's just like logistically, you just don't have the time, right? It's hard to factor it into your schedule. But you can control how you eat. If you wanted to lose weight, well, you just eat healthier, right? And the weight will just fall off. That doesn't particularly work either because you still have to put the labor in. So then you have these camps of people who are doing way too much labor and people who are not doing enough labor or any labor at all. And the answer is somewhere in the middle. Somewhere in the middle. You have to be very deliberate about how you engage in labor, and your labor has to be meaningful, right? For me personally, I don't advocate for people to just exercise or for people to train, right? I mean, or work out, right? What I want people to do is train, be very deliberate. I'm doing this exercise at this intensity in this particular fashion to achieve a very specific result. And every week, I'm going to do that same thing in that same exact way to achieve that result plus 2%, plus 5%, plus 7%, plus 10%, whatever kind of percentage points you can get. And you take every week and you just dial it in a little bit more, very deliberate, right? If you're trying to grow your biceps, you don't need to do 6 different bicep exercises. You need 1 or 2. You don't need to do 10, 16, 20 sets. You only need 1 or 2, right? Skill building, strength building. These are the main types of training you're going to do in order to create a body transformation. You're either building a skill, training your body to move better, right? Or you're training your body to be stronger. And strength is force production and force resistance. How much force can you resist and how much force can you produce? Right? So an example of that would be any type of exercise. As far as movement is concerned, you have a concentric phase of a movement and an eccentric phase of a movement. A concentric phase of a movement is a muscular contraction producing force trying to make something move, right? And then the eccentric phase is trying to resist movement happening, trying to prevent movement happening or control the speed at which that movement is happening. So for example, if I'm doing a squat, the downward phase is an eccentric movement. I'm trying to resist the weight on the way down. And then to stand back up, I'm producing force in order to stand back up. And there's the in-between, which is an isometric movement. You're not trying to produce force to move something, and you're not trying to resist force, allowing it to move, but at a certain pace. You want to prevent all movement altogether. That's what an eccentric movement is about, right? So when it comes to strength building, you're either producing movement, resisting a movement, or making sure the movement doesn't happen at all. You're preventing movement. Skill building is the thing that allows you to be able to develop strength in the first place. So check this out. My favorite tool, resistance bands, right? Producing force, resisting force, right? Something like this can help you to both develop a skill, like some type of body mechanic, or produce strength, or to strengthen your body within that specific movement. Now you can develop a movement or develop a skill, some type of body mechanic with conventional weights, but this is the safest way to do it. I don't got to worry about dropping a weight on my foot. I don't got to worry about getting stapled underneath a barbell. I don't need to worry about anything like that, right? And you can train anywhere. I'm away from home right now, as you can tell by the background. This is not my normal background because I'm in my away game, right? Here hanging out with the missus, and you know, I bring my bands with me. I can go out in the woods and train. I can train out in the street. I can bring these bands into a public bathroom and get a whole workout in a public bathroom if I wanted to. Yeah, right. So, and I get to do all the things. I get to build the strength. I get to develop movements in particular, right? Thinking about yourself, your personality, and what your relationship is with labor, right? Living a life without labor, actual physical labor, will literally cause you to have chronic illnesses. If you got knee pain, I'm telling you right now, the people who have knee pain, the people who have pain in their hips, the people who have back pain, these are the people who have a poor relationship with labor. Either you do too much labor or you don't do any at all. In which, in that case, whatever you don't use, you lose, right? If you have joint pain, hip pain, knee pain, back pain, whatever the case is, being sedentary or just not engaging in labor is not going to help you. You're going to have to train your way out. Same thing with food, right? You have to eat your way out. You want to lose weight, sure, you can fast and not eat and lose weight, but the problem is that at some point in time, you're going to have to start eating. So you can drop all kind of weight doing a crazy long extended fast and drop like 30 pounds in 10 days in some madness. But there comes a point in time where you got to start eating again. And if you start eating again in a way that's pathological, all that weight come rushing right back. This happens with a lot of people. They do this yo-yo thing. They're up, down, up, down, up, down. Right? Labor is how you get to your goal weight and stay at your goal weight. One important rule is zero sum. When it comes to human health, it's zero sum. Prime example is whatever isn't growing is dying. If you're not growing your muscle mass, you are losing it. If it's not getting bigger, it is shrinking. And in order to maintain the muscle mass that you have, well, you actually have to produce the labor just to be able to maintain what you got, let alone building more. You got to work just to keep it. Right? And if you look just principally at life, you have a home. You're a homeowner. It's not enough just to put a down payment on the house. It's not enough just to pay the house in full. You got to pay property taxes, right? You got to pay your mortgage until it's done. You got to do the repairs. You got to clean. This is your property. This is your structure. You have to constantly maintenance it. Because if you just walk away from it, you don't bother doing anything with it, the roof will fall in. It'll become dilapidated. Right? Defunct. The human body works exactly the same way. Now, you think about farmland, you got to till the soil. Otherwise, there's no oxygen that's going to permeate the soil and be able to grow anything. And every year, you got to take care of your farmland. Right? You got to irrigate, you got to grow stuff, you got to till, whatever the case is. You have to harvest your crops, all of that. You have to nourish your soil, everything. every year. You want to eat, you got to do the labor, right? Every time you eat, there has to be labor that earns you that food. We live in a society where we can eat 3, 4 meals a day and do no labor. You're making money, but sitting at a desk and doing a job, that's not what I mean by labor. I mean what it is to be a human being, using your hands, getting into your body, doing something, working for something, building something. Meaningful labor, right? Even when it comes to your job, you're a business owner or something like that, or you work a job, you had to go to college, you had to get the degree, you had to get the education, all this type of stuff. You had to go on interviews and do all this type of stuff to get the job, right? And if it's something you're passionate about, it's meaningful. In terms of the body, it's the same way. You want to build your leg muscles, you got to be able to produce the squat pattern, the lunge pattern. You got to load the exercise, produce force, resist force, all this type of stuff. Even if you want to run, right? Oh, I want to lose weight, I'm going to start running. It's like, well, first of all, you got to learn how to run first. Right? Oh, I want to do box jumps. I'm like, before you even start jumping up onto something, you got to learn how to land. All these other things that you have to do, skill building. Right? And so when you view things through this lens of like, yeah, you earn your leisure. Labor is at the root of what it is to be a human being. It's not just enough to just eat right. Not enough. Eating is one of the most easiest things you'll ever do. Right? If eating is hard in your life, everything is hard. Right? If eating is difficult, everything's difficult. Eating is one of the easiest things you'll ever do. If you have a hard time sticking to eating the right way to nourish your body, this is an indicator of a deeper underlying issue. The stakes in your mind is not high enough. Right? That's just the truth. Some people have a hard time sticking to their diet and eating right because the stakes aren't high enough. You haven't really like worked for it. Right? And so in your mind, it helps to raise the stakes a bit. Here's what I mean by that. If you knew putting another chicken nugget in your mouth was going to cause you to have a stroke, somebody couldn't get you to eat a chicken nugget if they put a gun to your head. Couldn't do it. Stakes are much higher right at that point. If you've worked your ass off, you've been going to the gym, you've been training consistently, and you've made all this progress. The muscle definition is starting to show. You're hitting all types of new strength levels, everything like that. You're not going to just go and piss that away by not nourishing your body in order to facilitate that kind of training. Because you've worked for it. It's meaningful. And we have a culture where our foods, we don't view it in this meaningful way. The stakes aren't high enough. The meal isn't meaningful enough. You order something from like Uber or something like that, like Uber Eats or whatever the case is. It's not that meaningful, right? Because you didn't put the labor into making it and all of this type of stuff. If you grow your crops yourself, now it's a bigger deal, right? Like you get a carrot that you got from the grocery store is not the same as a carrot that you grew on your land. It's not the same, right? One is more meaningful because of what you had to do to get it. And this is why labor is so important. It's at the root of human existence, right? No matter what kind of injuries you have, you're not exempt from labor. It doesn't matter if you're 100 pounds overweight. It doesn't matter if your knees hurt. It doesn't matter if your back hurts. You can still produce the labor. It just has to be a bit modified. That's all. I'll give you an example. Let's use this resistance band. Let me see this here. Hold on a second. I'm doing this on the fly. But let's say I got this chair. I can't squat because my knees hurt, right? Let's say that's the case. I can step on this band, right? So I have the band is now underneath my feet. And I can put this band directly over my shoulders here and stand up and sit back down on the chair. Boom. And sit back down on the chair. You may not be able to squat like a Olympic weightlifter, but you can sit on the chair, right? And let's say even if the chair is too deep, you can put something on top of the chair and start there. And then gradually you challenge yourself to squat to a lower and lower surface. You do that consistently and you focus on improving that movement pattern. Gradually, you won't even need the chair. You can squat all the way down. It's just effort over time equals success, right? You don't have to kill yourself, because the thing is that when it comes to building strength and muscle, you don't need to do a whole lot. What you really need to do is do something that's sustainable, something you can be consistent with, right? And just do it long enough. Your body will adapt. Something may feel really hard today, but it's not always going to feel that hard every time you do it, because the human body's prime directive is to adapt. Your body will perpetually adapt to whatever you keep doing. This is the root of obesity. You keep eating all kinds of crap, your body's going to get better at storing crap. Right? If you're doing things that's hard, your body is going to become stronger to make those things less hard, so that you can be better equipped to do it. Your body is always trying to meet you where you are. Right, all the time. Your body's always trying to meet you where you are. You have to work with it. Right? And the reason why I want to talk about this in particular is because we have a very pathological relationship with labor as a society, right? What we call exercise and working out, things like this. A lot of people come to me and they're like, I need a diet plan, I need help with what to eat, blah, blah, blah. But they're not exercising. People come to me, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, erectile dysfunction, thyroid issues, gut health issues, kidney issues, stomach issues, all types of issues. Not exercising. I'm like, if you don't exercise, it's going to be very difficult to reverse these issues. Diet is a very important part of it, but you have to improve the infrastructure of your body. I know people where they're like professional powerlifters. They compete in powerlifting. They can get away with eating just a whole giant pizza pie, boom, by themselves, right? Eat all types of stuff. They're like a trash compactor. They just put stuff down the hatch and be strong, lean, just a straight up machine. No strict diet, no nothing. But the reason why they're able to do that is because of all the muscle mass on them, because of how well developed their nervous system is. And all of the cells in their body and all this muscle tissue and whatnot is so metabolically active that their body is just burning this stuff for fuel. Right? And I know I got away with this because before I was plant-based, that was me. 24-piece buffalo wings, Domino's personal pie, 4 to 6 egg omelet with 2 or 3 slices of cheese. That was gross. But I could eat like that because of how hard I was training. Right? And I made it to a top weight of like 193 pounds at like 16% body fat. If I wouldn't have been training the way that I was, I probably would have got obese. I would have got, my blood pressure would have got higher and higher and higher. I could have became insulin resistant or pre-diabetic or just straight up type 2 diabetic. It could have happened to me. But because I was training the way that I was able to get away with eating wild. Right? Now, of course, I didn't get out unscathed because I still had all the joint pain, the chronic headaches, you know, the heart palpitations or poor sleep quality, things like this, right? I could sleep and fall asleep anywhere and sleep 8 hours straight and wake up feeling miserable, like I didn't sleep at all, right? The way that I feel now is I can't even imagine. I don't have the joint pain, I don't have the headaches, I don't have the heart palpitations, I don't have the poor sleep quality, I don't have the seasonal allergies like I used to, right? So I kept the training in place and fixed the diet, but the training was already in place. You have some people, they have all these chronic illnesses and they fix the diet and the diet will work wonders for them. It's necessary. It's not sufficient. Because if you slack off your diet, you slack off your diet for a month and you'll start regressing in your health. It's kind of like what I mean. Your diet can reverse chronic illnesses. Your diet can help you lose weight and all these type of things. But if you stop, you backslide real quick to the back of the line and you got to start over again. It's necessary, but it's not sufficient. The diet to get you out of a hole. But when you add in the training consistently, it'll keep you out. Right? Let me catch up with y'all in these comments here. God wants you to experience super consciousness, source uses, loses in your dark side in societal program. We're speaking a word here. Message. Fruits all day. True. Have organic fit app. So I do Pilates on the bed. There we go. Move however you can. But at least I'm moving. That's right, D. You stay moving. This is what allowed us to make so much progress as it is, because you keep moving, no matter what. So big shout out to you. You got an unbreakable spirit, unbreakable will. We love it. Even grains super hard to digest. I don't know. Grains are super hard to digest. Oh, maybe for some people. Have you ever heard of a Baker's cyst located behind the knee? Can you exercise if you have that condition? Yeah, you can. And it'd be really uncomfortable, I'll tell you that, but you can. I don't believe it's permanent either. Absolutely love resistance bands. True. I gave up training in a conventional gym long before COVID. Oh, they're the most effective way to train. Gain good muscle and strength. Best blessings from UK. Big shout out to you tuning in from the UK. Sir, eating only fruits what you think? I don't know. I don't quite know what that means. Definitely trying to train. Got to take off the weight I gained recently. Yeah, well, I mean, you got an acute circumstance there. So you just got to let your body recover, right? You don't need to beat yourself up. I'm listening to a dietitian who said she would never eat cashews. Why would she never eat cashews? What's wrong with cashews? People be saying some crazy stuff. Beverly, big shout out to you from Charlotte. My man, KO Kennedy, what's going on? Big shout out to you tuning in from Texas. We love it. Noel, big shout out to you tuning in from Wayne. Here we go. My folks is in here. So yeah, basically just wanted to talk about that, right? One of the prime directives that we have in life is to get as strong as we possibly can. We got our whole entire lives to get as strong as we possibly can. Strengthen our back as much as possible. Strengthen our glutes as much as possible. Strengthen our grip as much as possible. We want to be strong, right? People have, oh, I don't want to be a bodybuilder, or I don't want to be too big. Like, let me tell you something. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to be too big. I don't want to hear that. Because the only people who say that are the people who don't really train hard anyway. Everybody who's ever told, I just want to get toned. I don't want to get too big. Like, what do you mean too big? You want to get toned? What does that even mean? Tone. Tone refers to color or dial tone from a phone, right? We want to get strong because all the muscle that you build throughout your whole entire life is going to carry you into your golden years. And if you were lazy when you were younger, if you were lazy in your 20s, if you were lazy in your 30s and 40s and 50s, it's going to be painful in your 60s, 70s, and 80s. It's going to be painful, right? Because it's not free. You can't afford to just forfeit strength. Can't afford it, right? Human beings have the capacity to live damn near 100 years old, 100 plus years old. You can't spend all of that time just being weak, right? And our population is getting weaker and weaker and weaker, eating more and more and more protein. Eating all this protein for no reason. People, where are you gonna get your protein? Where are you gonna get protein? Protein. Then everybody asks me about protein. They're weak, right? You should be able to deadlift at least twice your body weight off the ground, right? If you're 150 pounds, you should be able to deadlift 300 pounds. I know women, 5'2", 140 pounds, deadlifting twice their body weight for reps. Strong. Little women, small, picking up men, walk across the gym with them like a child on their back. Strong. And people say, oh, wow, I didn't know she was that strong. Well, because she don't look too big. Just because you're strong, you're getting progressively stronger don't mean, you know, you're gonna get too big. It ain't like that, right? We're not like the Hulk. That doesn't work that way. Like you just turn greener and greener and greener and freakishly larger and larger. It doesn't work that way. Like, you know, muscle cells don't proliferate and multiply like cancer or something like that, right? It doesn't work that way. You're gonna have to work for it. People don't get big on accident. You get people who are dedicated to getting as big as possible, building as much muscle mass as possible. They're not doing it passively. They dedicate their whole life to it. You don't exercise, you don't accidentally get too big. Oops, I didn't put on too much muscle. I didn't mean to do that. That's not how it works. Right? So your diet, that is the foundation for physical, mental, emotional change. Once you have that foundation, you got to focus on putting things on top. Education, labor, pursuing meaningful goals. So I told you I was going to keep it short, keep it light tonight. I ain't going to hold y'all because I'm on my away game. So I'm going to get back to hanging out with the missus here. Folks, I'm about to say double tap the screen. Hit the like button if you found this message useful and meaningful. I stream every Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern, every Monday night. So I'll be back on here next Monday, and I'll be dropping some things here and there on the channel. And that's pretty much it. And I guess the final thing I'll say is if you need to book a call with me, or you want to book a call because you have wellness goals, you need diet and or training plan, or coaching support, or whatever the case is, book a call with me. There's a link in the description of this video where you can book a call. You pick the time and day that you want, and that's it. Those time slots are filling up quick, so if you're going to do it, get on it. And I will catch y'all on the next one.